had never planned on coming back home. Not after everything that happened, every insult, every dismissal, every reminder that I was always the extra one in the family, the one who only existed to be compared, corrected, and controlled. But when my mom called me 3 nights before Thanksgiving and said, "Just come home this year, please. At least for your father," I couldn't bring myself to say no. My father had always been the quiet anchor holding the house together, even when the rest of us were tearing each other apart. So I agreed, even though my chest tightened the entire drive back to the neighborhood I once prayed to escape. The moment I pulled into the driveway, I already regretted it. My sister Laurel's car was parked crookedly across 2 spots, loud music blasting through her half-open windows. That was her, always walking into a place like she owned it, even when she didn't. My mom rushed out first, arms open wide, pretending as if the last few years of silence and distance had never happened. My father followed with his slow steps, smiling the way he always did when he saw me, even when talking was hard for him nowadays. But Laurel didn't bother coming out. Of course she didn't. She'd never greet me unless an audience was watching inside the house. Everything looked the same but felt heavier. My father's cane leaning against the couch, my mother's eyes darting between me and Laurel, trying to keep the peace before it even broke. Dinner was awkward, sprinkled with fake smiles and boiled vegetables. Laurel kept rolling her eyes, adjusting her hair, and forcing stories about her new business ventures into the conversation even when no one asked. I kept eating in silence because I knew how these things went. Say one wrong word and she'd twist it into a personal attack. After dinner, she finally decided to acknowledge me. "You know," she said, leaning back with a smug smile, "I can't believe you actually came. I thought you'd be too busy pretending you're better than us." Mom tried to intervene. "Laurel, not tonight." "No, it's fine," I said quietly. "I just came to see Dad." Wrong move. Laurel always hated when someone cared about Dad more than her. She spent the rest of the night finding new ways to poke at me. My clothes, my job, my apartment, even the way I cut my vegetables. Dad tried to lighten the mood with small jokes, but nothing stopped her. Eventually I stood up and went outside, pretending I needed fresh air. Truth was, I just needed a break from suffocating. That's when I saw someone sitting on the old wooden steps of the porch. I froze. Even in the dark, I knew exactly who it was. Cody YX. The one person I hoped I'd never have to see again. Especially not here, especially not like this. He stood up the moment he realized it was me. "Hey," he said softly. I swallowed hard. "What are you doing here?" He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "I wasn't expecting you. I came to drop off something for your sister." Of course. That explained the sinking feeling in my stomach. "She's inside," I said coldly. Before he could respond, Laurel's voice cut through the front door. "Oh my God, finally. You two done being weird? Cody, come inside. We're going out." She grabbed his wrist like she owned him, like he was the next shiny object she wanted to show off, and dragged him inside. I followed slowly, nausea crawling up my throat. My parents seemed surprised but didn't comment. They probably assumed Cody and I had dated ages ago and moved on. I wished it were that simple. Laurel strutted into the living room, still holding his wrist, and said loudly, "By the way, everybody, we're dating." I felt something inside me drop like a stone, but I forced my face into something neutral. Mom blinked in confusion. "Laurel, didn't he used to?" "Yes, Mom." She cut her off with a laugh. "He used to date her. But people upgrade. Isn't that right, Cody?" He didn't reply. He didn't even look proud. He looked uncomfortable, like someone standing in a spotlight they never asked for. I walked past them and headed upstairs without saying a word. I heard Laurel laughing behind me, loud, sharp, triumphant. The kind of laugh she used whenever she thought she'd won something. In my old room, everything felt small and claustrophobic, like a time capsule I didn't want to open. I sat on the bed trying to breathe, but memories kept attacking me. Cody and I had been together for almost 2 years. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Until Laurel found out and started making comments, subtle at first, then sharper. She'd flirt with him in front of me, accidentally bump into him, call him late at night pretending she needed help with something. I trusted Cody, but Laurel? Never. One night, after an argument that she deliberately started, I ended things with him out of frustration. And the next day she walked around the house smirking. Seeing them together now felt like salt in an old wound. Later that night, I went downstairs for water and overheard them talking in the living room. Laurel, Cody said quietly. I don't think. No, she snapped. You don't get to second-guess this. You said you'd be my date tomorrow. My whole family will be there. I want them to see that I get what I want. So this is about her? He asked softly. I'm not discussing this, she hissed. You're coming. And you'll act like you love it. I stepped back before they noticed me. My chest hurt. Not because of him, because of how familiar her tone was. That sharp, entitled voice she used on everyone who didn't give her exactly what she wanted. Thanksgiving morning arrived with forced smiles and heavy air. Relatives filled the house, chatting and laughing until Laurel entered the room with Cody on her arm, wearing a dress that screamed, "Look at me." Everyone turned their heads. She loved it. I tried to remain invisible. Sit quietly, help Mom in the kitchen, stay out of Laurel's spotlight. But she wouldn't allow IT dinner. She cleared her throat dramatically and stood up. Everyone. I have an announcement. Cody and I are officially together. Then she looked directly at me, smiling like a victor in a war I didn't even want to fight. Some people here might find that surprising, but that's life. Some women hold on to men they can't keep. And some of us? We don't lose. The table went silent. Dad looked disappointed. Mom closed her eyes in embarrassment. Cody looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. I stared at my plate, forcing myself not to react. Laurel clicked her tongue. Oh, come on, don't make that face. It's not my fault you couldn't keep him interested. That was it. That I stood up slowly. But before I could speak, something unexpected happened. Cody stood too. Laurel, he said, voice steady. Stop. She laughed. Stop what? Telling the truth. No. He said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Stop lying. Her smile faltered. He took a deep breath. I didn't come here because I wanted to be with you. I came because you threatened me. You said you'd spread rumors about her if I didn't show up. You blackmailed me into pretending. I didn't want any part of this. The entire room froze. Laurel's face drained of color. You're lying. No, he continued, looking at her with a mixture of exhaustion and disgust. I'm done letting you control everything. I'm not your prize. And she, he turned to me, never deserved what you did to her. My heart hammered in my chest. Laurel's mouth opened, but no words came out. For the first time in her life, she looked powerless. Mom whispered, Laurel, is this true? Before Laurel could speak, Dad pushed himself up from his chair, leaning heavily on his cane. He walked to my side and placed a shaking hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, he said quietly. You never deserved this. I blinked hard, fighting the sting in my eyes. Laurel tried to regain control. This is ridiculous. He's just saying that because, but no one listened anymore. The room had shifted, her power had evaporated. Relatives began whispering. Mom sat down, devastated. Cody stepped away from her, refusing to be dragged back. And I stood there, breathing for the first time in years. Laurel finally screamed, Fine! All of you are pathetic! And stormed upstairs, slamming doors on her way. But the silence she left behind wasn't heavy anymore. It was freeing. After dinner, relatives came to me quietly, offering small apologies for believing her all these years. Cody approached me but kept a respectful distance. I'm sorry, he said softly, for everything. You didn't deserve any of it. I nodded. I know. But thank you for saying it. He asked if we could talk later, maybe clear the air. I told him maybe another time. I wasn't ready, not for that. Not yet. That night I sat on the porch again, breathing in the cold air while the house behind me slowly settled into sleep. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the extra one in the family. I didn't feel like the shadow of Laurel's spotlight. I didn't feel weak or small or defeated. I felt like someone who finally stood on solid ground. Someone who survived. Someone who came home not to fall apart, but to reclaim something she didn't know she'd lost. And as the night wrapped around me, quiet and steady, I realized something. Sometimes, the closure you've been waiting years for doesn't come as a gentle conversation or a heartfelt apology. Sometimes it arrives as truth breaking open in a room full of people who once refused to see you. And sometimes that truth is enough. If you walked beside me through this darkness, don't let go now. Subscribe. The next shadow already knows your name.